Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be talking to y'all about my labor and delivery story. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you about it, of how everything started. So it was on the 11th of December, and the past week I was already tired. I was super tired of, like, the big belly and like me feeling tired, my back hurting, all of that. Anyway, so I was trying to do things like dance or like go for long walks, try to sweep. I heard that was good. I drank cumin tea because that's what my mom gave me with my first child, and it helped me. And I drank one, but it didn't help at all. Anyways, they gave me my due date on December 12th. So on December 12th, for Hispanics, or for my family, is the Virgin Mary's day, Virgen de Guadalupe. And my mom wanted my son to be born on that day. And I was like, no, it's not possible. How are the doctors gonna know exactly the day that my baby's gonna be born? I didn't know that they could actually figure it out. I don't know. But also that same day, my husband was gonna have a test, a very important test for his school, on that same day. And he was like, please have him before, have him after that day. And I was like, well, I can't help it. If I get to have the baby that day, then it's gonna be that day. What can I do? And he would joke around telling me, like, well, then you're gonna have to be going through labor by yourself. But I knew he was just playing, because it was a really important test. So the day before I went into labor, it started off good. During the night before, the day before my labor, I had felt wetness, like in my underwear, but I was like, I don't think it's my my water breaking. I didn't know what that was, because with my first child, they broke my water at the hospital. So with this one, I was like, is it just like discharge? Because whenever you're pregnant, like, you get discharge, like a lot of discharge. So I didn't know if it was, well, what the difference was. So I would change my underwear, and then again I was wet. So I was like, what, let me just wait till the morning, let's see how it goes. So the next day I was having pains, like every 20 minutes I would get a pain, and then they started getting faster and faster. So my husband got home, and we went to go pick up my son. And at that moment, like, I felt like a lot of drip coming out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. But I wasn't sure. I was like, did I just pee myself? Did my water just break? So I was like, babe, like, I'm really, really wet. And he was like, maybe it's not it. Because they wouldn't believe me. Like, they wouldn't believe me. I was trying to tell them that my water broke. But since I had done pranks before on them about my water breaking, they wouldn't believe me. So I was like, okay, let me just wait for my pains to get harder. Because the doctor told me, if your water breaks, it's okay, take it slow. Just wait for the pains to start getting harder, more painful. So I came home, and it was my sister-in-law's birthday on the 11th. It was my sister-in-law's birthday. So all the family came over, and I was in the room because I was in pain. I was starting to get more pain. I had this app where I would, like, count the contractions, or how long each one would take. So that's what I was doing. And after that, I told my mother-in-law, I think my water broke earlier, I'm not sure. And she was like, are you in pain? I'm like, yeah, like, the pains are coming, but I'm not sure. I'm like, it doesn't feel super painful, but it's a little bit painful. So then she told, the family members, and then they were like, well, y'all should go check. Like, if she was, her underwear was getting wet with, like, something, then y'all must go check. So we decided to go, and we were, like, wondering, like, where do we leave my other son? Because I mean, other family was here, so we were deciding whether who would stay, who would go with us. So at the end, my father-in-law stayed with my sister-in-law and all the family members, and just my husband, me, and my mother-in-law went to the hospital, because we were like, we don't know if it's, you know, gonna happen or not. Anyways, whenever we got to the hospital, they took me into a room to check me to see if my water broke. And I was really scared because it was just me in there, right? And like, they stick something into some metal thing into your vagina. I hate that. I hate that. It's so freaking cold and so uncomfortable. Anyways, they checked it, and then the results came back and they said, yes, it is your water. So you came just in time. So I was like, oh my god. So I texted my husband, and I was like, they said that my water's broken, that it's time. And I was super scared because I was like, oh my gosh, going through it again. Because with my first, it was super painful, super bad. So I was actually super scared about what was gonna happen. So they let them in. I was like, can they come in already? So they came in, and then my husband was nervous. He was like, oh my gosh, tomorrow's the test and you're going into labor. So I was like, it's okay, you know, like, can you tell them that I'm going into labor? Can you do it another day? So he called and told him that it was fine, that after, you know, the day that I delivered, that he can go the next day to redo his test. So he was happy about that. So while I was in labor, he was just studying his books, studying, because he wanted to pass it, because they're really important. Because every time he passes a test, he gets a raise. So, you know, that was the end of the semester. So at the end of the semester are the hardest tests, and he needed to pass it. So then I was in labor, and my pains were getting harder and harder. And my mom was not there. You know, whenever we were driving to the hospital, I called my mom and I told her, Mom, it's time. But since I'm not sure if y'all know, but on the midnight of 12, they put the Mañanitas, which is the happy birthday song for the Virgen de Guadalupe, for the Virgin Mary. And my mom is in a dance group called the Matachines, which they dance with I'm not sure what they called. Yeah, but they dance for the Virgen de Guadalupe, for the Virgin Mary. And she was in Dallas, and the hospital is close to Dallas. So we called her, and she was like, she got super nervous because she didn't go there in her own car. She went there with her friend. So she was like, oh my gosh, what do? We still need to dance one more. And she was afraid she was gonna miss the birth of my son. So, you know, I was also scared because I wanted her there. Like, it's not the same, you know, having other people than your own mom, you know, helping you through it. Anyways, she came after like 2 hours of me being in the room, of them like sticking me with the needles, putting everything on me. And she got there, and I was really happy. I was like, oh my gosh, thank God that you're here. So after that, my pain started getting harder and harder, and my dad, my sister, my brother got there, and they saw me that I was in pain. So they left, and the doctor was telling me, well, the nurse, she was like, okay, the baby's heart is going down and we can't read it. So I was super scared. They were like, we're gonna have to put some devices in the baby's head, of my, you know, my lady part, but they're super big and they're gonna hurt you. So I was like, okay. So she was like, you can get the epidural now before we make you have more contractions, because the contractions were like taking forever. They were hard, but they were taking forever. They weren't like every 5 minutes. So they were like, we're gonna have to cost you the contractions. So I was like, okay, but can I get the epidural before you know, give me the medicine? She was like, yeah, of course. Let me just call the doctor and let them check you to see if you can get the epidural. So then they checked me, and I was barely like 4 centimeters open, and I wasn't advancing. Like, the hours were going by and I wasn't advancing. So they came in, and every time I go into labor, I get the shakes or the shivers. I don't know what they're called, but I shake uncontrollably. Like, uncontrollably. Like, y'all wouldn't even imagine. Like, I just shake and I can't stop shaking. So they came in to put the epidural on me. because I didn't want to have the pains of the labor. I'm not sure why. I just think I couldn't have handled them. So they stuck me, but whenever they were sticking me, like, I was shaking so much, I was crying, and my husband was grabbing my hand. And with my first pregnancy, I didn't cry because, you know, I was young, and my mom told me, you decided to go ahead and have this baby young, so you better like take responsibility, and you know, this is what happens when you have a baby. So she made me promise her that I wasn't gonna cry. So with this baby, I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna cry. So I was crying the whole entire time. I was crying because it was so painful. I was crying because I was scared. So whenever they stuck me with the needle, you know, everything started going numb. Everything started going numb, and then they still couldn't get the baby's heartbeat. I'm guessing he was moving too much. I am not sure what was going on, but he was they couldn't read it. So then they were like, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to use C-section if like within 20 minutes we can't hear the baby's heartbeat, or because the baby's heartbeat was going down. Like, you could hear it once in a while, but like you couldn't hear it like regularly. So then I was so scared. I turned to my husband and I was like, no, I don't want to get a C-section, because I was like, that's the worst fear for me, getting a C-section, because my mom had C-sections and she told me that it was horrible. My mother-in-law had C-sections and she told me it was horrible, and I was super scared. Anyway, so you know, I was scared. I was crying, holding my husband's hand. He was scared. Like, I could see it in his face that he was really scared, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then my husband told my mom and my mother-in-law, and they got scared, you know. They were like, no, like. And then at that moment whenever they said that they were gonna do a C-section, at that moment that they said that they were gonna do a C-section, like, they checked me to see how dilated I was, and his head was already there. So they were like, oh my gosh, it's time, his head is there. And they rushed and they called all the doctors. There was like 10 doctors or nurses in the room. Everyone was like there, so they told me to push. And before that, they had asked me that who was gonna be in there, and at first it was just like, before I went into labor, you know, it was just gonna be my mom and my husband. But since my mother-in-law was there, you know, I was like, you know what, let's just let her see, you know. She's gonna be my mother-in-law forever. Like, she's like another mom. So basically I was like, yeah, they're all gonna stay here and see. So at that moment, they all went around me, and my husband was holding one leg and the nurse was holding the other leg, and I couldn't feel anything because obviously the anesthesia and the epidural. So they were like, push, and you know, I would push, and I pushed like, I would say like 7 times, like really strong pushes, before his head came out. So once he came out, you know, I was so happy. I started crying. But they took him away really quick. I'm guessing because his heartbeat dropped. So they told me, well, they didn't tell me anything. They just, after they cleaned him up, they brought him to my chest, and he was there for a little bit. No, they left him there, and then and they were like, you have to push again for the placenta to come out. And I was, oh my gosh. And I actually saw my placenta coming out. I actually saw like how it looked. It was disgusting. But yeah, I saw, and like at the moment when I pushed the placenta out, the whole wall splattered with blood. I'm sorry, this is too much information, but I just want to tell you the details of how it went. And I was amazed. I was like, oh my gosh. And like, whenever my baby was coming out, the faces of my mom and my mother-in-law were like, oh my gosh, you know. Because with my first son, my mom was there through the labor, but she wasn't there through the delivery. Like, the actual like delivery of the baby. And this was her first time, and my mother-in-law's first time actually seeing like one of their grandsons come out. So it was pretty emotional. They were like scared of seeing me, obviously, because I mean it must be terrifying. But yeah, after that, like, they gave me the baby and he just stayed with me. Hello, say hi. Say hi, baby. This is him. Say hi, baby, Mozo. Okay, so after that they moved me to another room, and I was just there with my mom because my husband had to go home to sleep so the next day he can go to school and do his test. So I was there by myself, and then the next day I was also there by myself. My sister-in-law stayed with me, and everything was actually fine. They had to put the catheter on me, and I hate that thing. I hate it so freaking much. So I didn't have to stand up to go to the restroom because also my legs were still asleep because of the epidural. So yeah, and then that's it. We had to go home. He was born on December 12th, 2018, on the Virgin Mary's Day. He weighed 8 pounds and 6 ounces, I believe. I forgot. And he was 20 inches long. So he was a pretty big baby. My other baby was 7 pounds and he was like almost 9 pounds. So yeah, it was pretty good. I don't want kids yet. I did put the Nexplanon on my arm, and I will be making a video about that, about my experience using the Nexplanon. But yeah, that's all the story. Say bye. So please subscribe to my channel for other videos. And I won't be showing y'all my outfit because I like my outfit today, so I'm gonna be showing it to y'all. So this shirt is a like a sleeping shirt, and my mom gave it to me 2 days ago. She gave it to me. And then I'm wearing some mom jeans, and I really like them. Makes me look like a cool mom. It makes me look like a cool mom, and I like it. So say bye. Thank you for watching, and I hope you subscribe and like this video. Bye.